3 years ago, I was not brave at all. In fact, I was frightened of myself and what others might think of me. Let me take you back a couple years. When I was around 8 years old, I started to notice I was different than all my friends. I couldn't read as fast, I couldn't write full sentences, I couldn't even copy from the board without skipping lines or words, and math, don't even get me started. At home, I'd forget simple conversations constantly, and in ballet class, I'd forget my choreographies. My memory was, well, still is a challenge. Multiple steps tasks were almost out of the question for me, and still, to this day, I have to write everything down or I'll forget. 3 years ago, I was embarrassed of going to school because I didn't want to read out loud or answer a question that I didn't understand that my teacher had explained to me over and over again. In class, I just sit there, not understanding a single thing that came out of my teacher's mouth. I just drift off into La La Land. It felt like a bunch of rocks were on my back, and I couldn't breathe or get out. I felt stupid, and that frightened me. I was on the verge of giving up on myself. I felt discouraged, embarrassed, different, and left out, because no matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. I started to question myself constantly. Why is it so hard for me to remember or understand things? Why can't I read or do my homework quicker? The more I started believing I was stupid, the more frightened I was. I was sad and angry, and I started to show it by not being able to sleep at nights, having lots of anxiety, attitude, and keeping to myself. Towards the end of grade 3, where I've reached my lowest point in endless sleepless nights, my teacher called my parents in for a meeting. She had noticed my grades drop and different patterns in my behavior. Up till this point, I have done an amazing job at pretending I was perfectly fine and keeping up my good grades, but it had gotten to a point where I just couldn't pretend anymore. She had suggested a psychological educational assessment, so I did one. When I got the results, I was diagnosed with a learning disability and ADHD. The doctors had explained to me that I'd actually done a fantastic job in the tests and that I'm very intelligent, but my brain was just wired differently. They said I had to figure out different ways of learning and that within time, I'd know just how. It felt like those bunch of rocks that were on my back were finally lifted and I could breathe again. Why am I telling you all this? Because my entire experience of finding out about my learning disability and ADHD led me to finding my courage. I run a youth initiative called the Care Gift Elves with 6 of my closest friends. We raise money for different charities, do cleanups, gift drives, and advocate for many different causes we are passionate about. In one of our meetings, one of my friends was brave enough to share a very personal story with all of us. Her bravery made me want to step out of my comfort zone and speak up. I decided to write about my learning disability and ADHD on my Care Gift Elves blog, and a couple months later, it actually got published on the Malala Fund blog and translated into many different languages. I got emails from people all over the world thanking me for sharing my story and giving them hope. I also gave a speech in my school addressing the stigma that kids with learning disabilities go through and the bullying they face. This entire experience of finding out about my learning disability and ADHD had taught me many amazing things, like not giving up, working extremely hard, reaching my goals, and not giving up on myself. I finally understood that the word normal doesn't exist at all, and that we should all celebrate our differences, because that's what makes us beautiful. Be brave. Find the courage in your heart to accept yourself for who you are. Be kind to yourself and others, even when you're going through a rough time. I know it can be hard sometimes, but never, never give up. Thank you so much.